These are the 5 sleepers to target in your upcoming drafts. Number 1 on the list, the man they call straitjacket, Herb Jones. Jones' durability has allowed him to benefit greatly from the injury woes the Pelicans have suffered during his first 3 seasons in the NBA. And last year was no different, with Trey Murphy, CJ McCollum, and Brandon Ingram all missing time. Jones ended up having a career high in a number of categories, including minutes played, points, field goal percentage, free throw percentage, 3-pointers made per game, and 3-point percentage. And he was quietly named to the All-NBA Defensive First Team. Jones is a true 3-and-D player. For his career, he averages 1.5 steals per game, 0.8 blocks per game, and knocks down 1 3 per game. And while his 10.1 points per game don't jump off of the page, he does shoot at 48% from the field. And he also shoots at 37% from deep. So really, it's his defensive prowess that makes him valuable in fantasy. I know the Pelicans just brought on DeJounte Murray, but I could still see him getting close to 30 minutes a night. The Pelicans just signed him to a 4-year extension last offseason, and they no longer have Najee Marshall, Larry Nance, Dyson Daniels, or Jonas Valanciunas on the roster. So there are still minutes available to go around. And like I mentioned, the Pelicans have not been a model of health over the past few years, with both Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram both consistently missing time. And speaking of Ingram, he's coming into the season with an expiring contract. And given how much depth and young talent the Pelicans have at forward, it would not be surprising to see them move Ingram before the trade deadline. This could easily be the year the Pelicans shift their focus towards developing their young guys like Jones, Jordan Hawkins, and the previously mentioned Trey Murphy, who I'm also very high on. Ultimately, there's a lot to like about Jones. He can play the 3 or the 4, giving your fantasy roster a lot of flexibility, and outside of points, he can really stuff the stat sheet. At this point, I think he's a great value pick around the middle to late rounds. Number 2 on the list is Brandon Podziemski. With the Splash Brothers era coming to an end this past summer, Podziemski will look to fill some of the void left behind by Klay Thompson. Podziemski had a stat rookie season last year, earning him all-rookie first-team honors. He ended up starting 28 out of 74 games, and he showed a lot of potential. In those 28 starts, he played around 30 minutes, scored around 10 points, grabbed 6 rebounds, dished out 4 assists, and got 1 steal per night. He also knocked down 1.3 triples per game and only had 1.4 turnovers per contest. The hope is that with more consistent minutes, he'll be able to improve on his scoring. Last year, he only attempted 8 shots per start, and he only made 43% of his attempts. I know the Warriors brought in Buddy Hield and DeAnthony Melton, but I think they're finally focused on developing their young guys. So players like Jonathan Kuminga, Trace Jackson-Davis, and Podziemski should all be a firm part of the rotation. Since Podziemski can chip in everywhere, I think he's a great pick in categories leagues and in points leagues. I'm expecting his role to grow as the season goes on, and he could prove to be one of the better value picks. Number 3 on the list is Keon Ellis. It's hard not to root for Ellis. The guy's undrafted and worked his way into the starting lineup last year, starting 21 games. He's a tenacious defender and a true 3-and-D threat. In those 21 starts, he played around 27 minutes, scored around 9 points, got around 3.5 rebounds, got a little bit more than 2 assists, and got 1.7 steals per night. He also had 0.6 blocks per game and knocked down 1.8 threes per contest, making 40% of his attempts from deep. He also boasted a plus-minus of 4.2 on average in each of those starts, and this is despite not being a scorer. I don't think he'll have any problem earning minutes in this rotation this year, mostly because the Kings already have so many scorers. Between DeMar DeRozan, De'Aaron Fox, Keegan Murray, Domantas Sabonis, and Malik Monk, he should have a pretty safe spot in this rotation. He's definitely more suited towards categories leagues at this point of his career, but the upside is there. And if you're looking to take a chance on someone towards the end of your drafts, he's someone to keep in mind. Number 4 on the list is Taylor Hendricks. The Utah Jazz are undergoing an aggressive youth movement, and Hendricks should be one of the primary beneficiaries. The 9th pick in last year's draft started his career in the G League, before being recalled and ultimately starting 23 of the 40 games he played. While those numbers don't jump off of the page, he's expected to start at the power forward position, and I'm expecting a big sophomore leap. The Jazz are one of the younger teams in the league, and at this point they're more focused on developing their young players and the lottery than they are on winning games. So the minutes are going to be available, and if somehow John Collins got moved, that would open things up for both Hendricks and Walker Kessler, who I'm also very high on. It would definitely be nice to see him improve his scoring efficiency and his shot selection, but if he can get that number close to 15 points per night, he would be a steal in both points and categories leagues. Number 5 on the list is Josh Hart. Even with the addition of Mikal Bridges and Karl Anthony Towns, I'm expecting Hart to comfortably outproduce his draft position. At 29 years old, he is what he is at this point, a nightly triple-double threat that's not going to score very many points. There's no doubt that he benefited from the injuries to Julius Randle, OG Anunoby, and Mitchell Robinson last year, but there's still a void left to be filled. Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, and Isaiah Hartenstein are no longer on the team, and there's rumors that Mitchell Robinson will be moved. And given how Tom Thibodeau likes to play his players, he's going to be putting a heavy load on anyone who's healthy. While Hart may not be able to produce like he did last year, he is slated to start. And last year he started 43 games and played around 39 minutes in each of those games. He ended up averaging around 12 points, 10 rebounds, 5.5 assists, and knocked down 1.1 threes per game. He also had 1.2 steals and 0.4 blocks per night. Ultimately, I'm expecting him to be a heavy part of this rotation, along with Deuce McBride, who was also a gem at the end of the season last year. And he may not score all that much, but he does stuff the stat sheet elsewhere. And I think he's a great pickup in both points and categories leagues. These are the 5 sleepers to target in your upcoming drafts. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and let me know which sleepers you think we should target in the comments below.